Let's be honest. We live in a world that is basically engineered to steal your attention. True focus, real clarity, it feels almost impossible to achieve, right? We're always being pulled in a million different directions. But what if the answer isn't some new productivity app? What if it's something way more radical, like just disappearing? That's what we're going to get into with the Solitude Protocol. Okay, so look at this number, over $1 million. You're probably thinking, is that a company's profit? Revenue? Nope. That is the estimated cost every single year for just one media company to process its own internal emails. The author Cal Newport figured out that this constant communication, this thing we think is free, was costing them the equivalent of buying a new private jet every year. It's this staggering hidden tax that we're all paying for being constantly plugged in. And that really brings the question right back to us, doesn't it? Forget the big corporations for a second. What's the price that you're paying for all this fragmented attention? Is it lost creativity? That big project that's been sitting on the back burner for months? Or is it just that nagging feeling in the back of your head that your best work, your real potential, is always just slightly out of reach? So yeah, here's the fundamental issue we're all up against. Our world isn't just distracting by accident. It is designed from the ground up to be that way. And in an environment like this, the ability to truly focus has become an incredibly rare and incredibly valuable superpower. So, what's the game plan? How do we fight back? Well, a couple of really powerful ideas have popped up that go way beyond simple life hacks. They're about completely restructuring the way we work. And today, we're gonna look at two of the biggest, this viral trend called monk mode and a more academic idea called deep work. All right, first up, monk mode. You might have seen this thing blowing up on social media. It's been popularized by people like Ben Meir, and at its core, it's a commitment to just vanish for a while. You pick a period of time, set a few non-negotiable rules for yourself, like maybe daily exercise or meditation, and then you just ruthlessly cut out everything else to focus on one single massive goal. And then you've got deep work. Now, this comes from Cal Newport, a computer science professor. And this isn't about general self-improvement. No, this is laser-focused on professional output. It's about producing high-value work that's really hard for other people to replicate. It's the skill that lets you master complicated things quickly and just perform at an elite level. So you can see both are about solitude, but they're aiming at slightly different targets. But here's the wild part. This whole modern push for solitude, it's not new at all. In fact, to really get the philosophy behind it, we've got to go way back. We're talking 17th century Japan and a legendary masterless samurai named Miyamoto Musashi. Whoa. Okay, that sounds pretty harsh, right? But in one of his final works, Musashi laid out these principles for a life of total self-reliance. And for him, this rule wasn't about being cold or heartless. It was about radical detachment. To Musashi, things like emotional attachments or worldly desires, they were just noise. They were distractions that got in the way of perfecting his craft and mastering his own mind. So how do we take that ancient warrior philosophy and actually apply it today? I mean, thankfully, you don't have to become a wandering swordsman. Instead, we can turn back to Cal Newport's super practical strategies. He's created systems that help you find that intense focus without having to become a total hermit. Newport lays out a few ways to do this, but these two are the most common. First is the rhythmic approach. Think of it like going to the gym. You schedule it in, maybe it's 90 minutes every single morning, and it just becomes a regular habit. The other one is the journalistic approach. This is for people with totally chaotic schedules. It's about grabbing any opportunity for deep work whenever it appears. But, fair warning, that one's a lot harder. It takes a ton of practice to just switch into that mode on a dime. And here is a perfect and kind of famous example of that rhythmic style in action. It comes from the comedian Jerry Seinfeld. He wanted to write jokes every single day, so he got a big calendar, and every day he put a big red X over that day. Pretty soon he had a chain of X's, and his only job then wasn't to write the funniest joke, it was just, don't break the chain. It's such a simple but powerful psychological trick. Your brain gets addicted to seeing that chain grow. Okay, but now we have to hit the brakes and talk about the huge elephant in the room. Because there is a very real and, frankly, a very dangerous line between productive solitude and harmful social isolation. Look, intentionally stepping away to focus is one thing. But cutting yourself off from essential human connection, that is something else entirely. And this brings us to what might be the most important point of this whole conversation. While all these protocols can be amazing tools for getting things done, you have to approach them with some serious caution and self-awareness, because that line between focus and isolation, it is razor thin. This quote from mental health professionals at All Points North really says it all. Solitude can be a great way to figure out what your issues are. It shines a spotlight on them, but it cannot solve them for you. In fact, if you're already struggling, piling on a bunch of intentional isolation can actually make things a whole lot worse. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. So you have to be really honest with yourself and pay close attention to how your time alone actually feels. Is it productive and energizing? Or is it dominated by this persistent anxiety or depression or just this overwhelming stress? If it's any of those things, that's your brain sending up a flare. It's a clear signal that what you might need is professional support, not more isolation. And look, this is all happening against a pretty critical backdrop. A YouGov survey found something fascinating. The youngest, most digitally connected generations, millennials and Gen Z, already report the highest rates of loneliness. Think about that. For a huge number of people, the problem isn't that they have a lack of solitude, it's that they have a lack of meaningful connection. So adding a strict isolation protocol on top of that baseline loneliness, you can see how that could be a recipe for disaster. So as we wrap this up, it all really boils down to this one final question. You have to ask yourself, is your desire to be alone a strategic choice to build something incredible? Is it a source of strength? Or is it a shield? Is it just a way to avoid dealing with the difficult, messy, but totally necessary parts of life and connection? The honest answer to that question, well, that makes all the difference in the world.